The scream did not sound like something meant for mortal ears. It tore across the night sky of Earth like a ripping storm, vibrating street lamps and rattling windows. People dropped their grocery bags, dogs howled, and every radio cracked alive with static. But one man, just one, felt that scream hit him deeper than all others, like it was meant for him, only him. Elias Thorne froze in the middle of a deserted parking lot, a cup of instant noodles still steaming in his hand. His heart stuttered, his breath caught, and he whispered her name like it was a prayer he wasn't ready to say out loud. The wind answered with another faint cry, feminine, terrified, impossibly distant, yet sharp enough to slice straight through his soul. He didn't question it, didn't reason, didn't think like a normal man who worked a normal job and had a normal life. Because Elias wasn't normal. And she wasn't either. Would later call this the night everything went bonkers TM. But in the moment, Elias only knew one thing. The alien queen was in danger. His alien queen. The one who had once stumbled onto Earth with a cracked starship and a crown made of shimmering silver vines. The one who laughed like stardust and spoke in melodies. The one who trusted him, the human who patched her wounds with duct tape, ramen broth, and reckless loyalty. Her soft voice still echoed in his memory. "You are the champion of Earth. My heart sees it even if yours does not." He thought she was teasing at first, but that scream tonight, it felt like destiny cashing its overdue bill. The sky above him trembled. Clouds twisted like something was tunneling through space. Something massive, angry, hunting. A pulse of violet energy cracked open the night, illuminating the outline of a symbol Elias recognized instantly. Her crest, the royal crest of Val, queen of the Star Dominion. Elias swallowed hard. "This is bad," he muttered, fully aware that this was the understatement of the century. But before panic could wrap its cold hands around him, a small device in his pocket sparked alive, glowing bright blue. His communicator, broken for months, flared with static, then cleared into a trembling, desperate voice. Elias, please." She was crying. Never cried. The most powerful queen of the outer galaxies never let fear touch her voice. But tonight, it cracked like thin ice under heavy boots. Elias' knees nearly buckled. "I'm here, I'm right here. Where are you?" A burst of static answered. Then a whisper like a final breath. "They found me." His blood ran cold. He knew exactly who they were. The Void Reapers. The ancient enemies of her people. Creatures that fed on stars and left dying worlds in their wake. And if they captured her? No, he wasn't going to think that far. His fear twisted into something hotter, sharper, something he hadn't felt since the day he stood between, and a roaring plasma beast with nothing but a metal pipe and pure stupidity. He felt it now. Champion mode. He didn't name it, did, and honestly he didn't hate it. The communicator crackled again, softer this time, like her voice was fatting. "Elias, my champion, they're coming for Earth next, run." "Run," he whispered, heart pounding painfully. "You think I'm leaving you? You think I'm gonna sit here and eat noodles while you get dragged across space by a bunch of cosmic cockroaches?" He clenched his fists so tightly the noodles spilled everywhere, splattering sadly across the pavement. "I'm coming for you," he vowed. "I don't care if I have to steal a ship, punch a star, or fight every last Reaper myself. You hear me? I'm coming." For a moment, he thought he heard her smile. A shaky whisper slipped through the static. "I knew you would." Then the device went dead. Elias didn't waste a second. He sprinted charged toward the abandoned warehouse on the hill. Few on Earth knew it wasn't actually abandoned. Fewer knew what slept underneath it, and only one person had the access codes, Elias. A hidden elevator descended into darkness. Lights flickered on. A dormant ship, sleek, alien, humming faintly, waited for him like a loyal beast awakening at its master's footsteps. A ship, the one she left behind with a trembling promise. "When I return, my champion, We will finish what started between us." He had laughed awkwardly back then. He wasn't laughing now. He stepped inside, gripping the controls with shaking hands. "Hold on," he whispered, fire lighting in his chest. "Earth's champion is coming." And the ship roared to life. The ship hummed, alive and breathing beneath his hands, as if it knew its queen was in danger. Elias gripped the controls, knuckles white, heart hammering. Outside, the Earth's night sky blurred into streaks of neon as the ship tore through the atmosphere. The city lights below faded into nothingness, and the silence of space pressed against him like a living thing. He tried not to think about how small he felt against the universe. Tried not to think about the Void Reapers, those monstrous shadows that had chased across galaxies. Tried not to think about the scream that had burned itself into his brain. But every memory of her voice, soft yet commanding, whispered through him, refusing to let fear take root. "I'll find you," he muttered. "I swear I'll find you and bring you home." A sudden jolt threw him forward. The ship shuddered violently and alarms blared. A crimson light flashed on the console, void distortion field approaching. "Figures," Elias muttered, heart sinking. "Nothing ever comes easy with you, does it?" The screen lit up with jagged shapes, black like ink spilled in zero gravity. The Void Reapers. Their ships weren't ships. They were living shadows, twisted matter moving with impossible speed. They blocked the path ahead, surrounding him like predators circling prey. Elias swallowed hard. For a heartbeat, doubt clawed at him. Maybe he wasn't ready. Maybe Earth's champion was just a man in a stolen alien ship, running toward monsters far too big to fight. But then her face flashed in his mind. Her eyes, violet, endless, filled with trust. Her hand, once placed in his, had been heavier than gravity itself. And her voice. "You are the champion of Earth. My heart sees it." No, he would not fail her. Not when she had believed in him so fiercely. He slammed the console, activating the ship's pulse thrusters. Light exploded around him, and the alien vessel twisted through the void like a silver arrow. The Reapers attacked, black tendrils lashing out. One wrapped around the ship's hull, tearing through metal like paper. Elias yelped, fists pounding the controls. "Not today," he shouted. "Not while she's alive." A sharp flash of humor crossed his mind in the chaos. He had never fought alien monsters before breakfast, yet here he was, dodging tendrils, muttering insults at intergalactic shadows. Only this time it mattered more than his life. This time it was for. With a violent twist, he broke free from the first tendril. Another Reaper swooped in, black wings stretching like the void itself. The ship shuddered again. Sparks flew. He knew he couldn't outrun them forever. Then, in the midst of panic, a memory of hit him like a meteor. "You can do more than you know," she had said, brushing her silver hair from her face. "Even if the stars themselves laugh at you." He gritted his teeth, pushed a lever, and engaged the ship's secret, its emergency quantum drive. A burst of violet energy enveloped the vessel, and for a terrifying second he felt like he was being ripped apart. The stars stretched, twisted, and then they were gone. The Reapers were behind, stranded in the normal flow of space-time. Elias exhaled, trembling, and pressed a hand to his chest. His heartbeat roared in his ears. But there was no time to breathe. The communicator sparked again. Her voice, soft, distant, filled with desperate hope, came through. "Elias, thank you." He nearly cried. She was alive. "Don't thank me yet. I haven't got you back," he shouted into the static, voice raw. I'm coming for you, I swear on everything between us." A pause, then her faint, trembling laugh. "You always make me feel safe," she whispered, "even when the stars themselves are dying." Elia's chest tightened. She was fragile now, she was scared. And yet, even through fear, she found him, she trusted him, and that trust, it was a fire burning brighter than any supernova. The ship twisted again, sensors flaring. Ahead, a planet-sized fortress loomed, dark, sharp, deadly, and he knew she was inside it. Elias swallowed. He wasn't a soldier of the stars. He wasn't trained for an interstellar war, but he was her champion, and that meant something. That meant he would run through hell, smash through monsters, and punch the void itself if he had to. He set his jaw, hands steady on the controls, eyes blazing. "Hang on," he whispered, voice trembling with a mix of fear and love. "Earth's champion is not just coming, he's breaking through." And with a roar of alien engines, he plunged into the shadowed fortress, heart full of hope, rage, and the unshakable truth. He would never let her go. The fortress loomed like a wound in space, jagged edges slicing the void. Its black surface absorbed every flicker of light, and even the ship's headlights seemed to vanish before hitting it. Elia's fingers trembled as he gripped the controls. This wasn't a battle he could win with skill alone. It was a battle he had to survive for her. He whispered, voice small in the massive silence of space. "I'm here. I'll find you, I promise." A faint shimmer appeared on the communicator. Her voice, barely a whisper, quivered. Elias, be careful." He smiled faintly, humor and panic tangled in his chest. "Careful," he muttered. "Buddy, careful didn't save anyone. You know me better than that." The ship shuddered violently. Reaper sentinels had detected him. Black shapes lunged from the shadows, lashing with tendrils that could shred the ship like paper. He dodged, twisted, and barreled forward, praying the quantum drive had given him enough speed to survive. Inside the fortress, the darkness seemed alive. Shadows slithered along the walls, moving with intent. Elia's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed for him to turn back, but he couldn't. She was in there, his queen, his. A blast of black energy rocked the ship, throwing him against the controls. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed. "Come on, you stupid metal bucket," Elias shouted, struggling to stabilize the vessel. "Don't fail me now." The ship responded, groaning under the strain, but it held. For now. Through the viewport, he saw a window, a glimmer of violet light in the fortress, her crest. She was there. He shouted, pounding the controls. "Hold on, I'm coming for you." Her voice came again, trembling but clear. Hurry before they." Static cut her words short. The silence that followed made his blood run cold. Elia's mind raced. The Reapers were fast, too fast. If he hesitated, if he miscalculated, she could be gone forever. But then he felt it, a surge of something deep inside. Rage, love, loyalty. A promise he had whispered once long ago under the silver starlight of Earth. "I will never let you go." He barrel-rolled the ship, dodging a massive Reaper that lashed like a whip. Black tendrils scraped the hull, sparks flying like fireworks. Elias gritted his teeth and rammed the throttle forward, straight toward the fortress's heart. Inside, the corridors were narrow and cruel, twisting like the veins of some dark living organism. The ship's sensors flared, revealing clusters of Reapers moving like predators. Elia's stomach churned. Every instinct told him to flee. Every heartbeat screamed for him to fight. And then he remembered something. The first time he had met, she had been trapped, surrounded by hostile creatures, and still she had smiled at him. Not fear, not doubt, but trust. Absolute, unshakable trust. Elias clenched his fists. He could do this. He had to do this. The ship's weapons systems, activated automatically, had left him upgrades he didn't fully understand. Lasers fired, tearing through the nearest Reaper sentinels like paper under a sunbeam. Elias laughed, a crazy, relieved sound. "Yeah, eat that, you cosmic nightmares," he yelled. But the fortress itself seemed to respond. The walls pulsed, black energy flowing like veins. He felt it trying to push him out, to crush him before he could reach her. And he realized with a sinking heart that this wasn't just a prison, it was alive. The Reapers had merged with it, their shadows infecting every corridor. Elias swallowed hard. Fear clawed at him, sharp and cold, but he clenched the controls again. "Not today," he muttered, his voice breaking. "Not while she's alive, not while she is alive." Then through the chaos, he heard her again, soft, distant, but unmistakable. Elias." It was enough, the tiniest thread of hope, but enough to ignite a fire in his chest. "Hold on," he whispered, tears threatening to spill. "Earth's champion is right here, and I'm never leaving without you." The ship surged forward, crashing through another wave of black tendrils. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. But he pressed on, one heartbeat, one desperate thrust closer to the queen he loved, the one life he could never live without. And somewhere deep inside the fortress, a shadow shifted. It seemed to watch him. Wait, challenge. Elias gritted his teeth. Whatever waited inside, he would face it. He had to, for her. Because love wasn't just a feeling, not for him. Love was a battle, a war, a force stronger than the stars themselves. And Elias thorn. He was ready to burn the universe down to save his queen. The corridors of the fortress twisted like a living nightmare. Shadows slithered along the walls, black as spilled ink, whispering with voices that weren't there. Elia's ship hovered just above the floor, lights cutting through the darkness, revealing the grotesque shapes of void reapers scuttling in patterns that made his stomach knot. He clenched his jaw and gritted his teeth. No hesitation, no fear, only her. Ahead, a chamber glowed faintly with violet light, the unmistakable shimmer of Crest. His heart lurched almost painfully. She was there, alive, beautiful, fragile, and yet chained. The chains were made of something unnatural, pulsating with dark energy, wrapping around her arms and legs like a living prison. Her head was bowed, silver hair cascading over her shoulders, hiding her face, but Elias could feel her gaze, burning through the shadows, finding him. He whispered, voice cracking, I'm here. She lifted her head slowly, eyes wide with a mixture of relief, fear, and something softer, something that made his chest ache. Tears streaked her violet cheeks, glimmering like shattered stars. Elias, she breathed, voice trembling. I didn't think. You thought wrong, he said sharply, stepping forward, fists clenched. I'm never letting them take you, not ever. She laughed softly, almost a whisper, and it made something inside him melt. Despite everything, despite the chains, despite the reapers, she smiled. A tiny, trembling curve of lips, but it shone brighter than the fortress itself. You always come, she said, voice cracking, even when the universe is against you. Elias shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips despite the tension. I told you, he said, voice low, almost intimate. Earth, champion doesn't quit, and I'm all yours, all the way. Before she could respond, a shadow moved, a reaper larger than the rest, a black monstrosity with jagged wings and eyes like dying stars. It hissed, sending waves of dark energy toward Elias. Not today, he shouted, slamming a button on the ship's console. Lasers fired in a precise arc, carving through the creature's shadowy form. Sparks and black smoke filled the chamber. He barely dodged a swipe of its claw, heart hammering so violently he thought it might break his ribs. Elias whispered, fear and awe mingling in her voice. You shouldn't. Shut up, he said, grinning despite the chaos. You're alive, that's all that matters, and I swear I'll kill every last one of these nightmares if it's the last thing I do. The reaper screeched and lunged again. The ship twisted, dodging, firing, and ramming through its tendrils with desperate precision. Elias felt sweat stinging his eyes, muscles burning, but he didn't stop. Every strike, every maneuver, every heartbeat was for her. Finally, with one last furious burst, the reaper fell, dissolving into black smoke. Elias breathed heavily, chest heaving, eyes locked on her. You're safe for now, he said, voice softening. I've got you. Chains pulsed, and she gasped, silver hair falling away from her face. Her eyes met his fully now, wide and shimmering with unshed tears. Her lips trembled as she whispered, I love you, Elias, I always have. He stumbled toward her, heart nearly breaking with relief and longing. I love you too, he choked out, voice thick. More than the stars, more than anything. You hear me? You're not alone, ever. She closed her eyes, trembling, and leaned forward. He could feel the faint warmth of her, smell the faint sweetness of her hair, sense her fragile heartbeat against the chaotic energy of the fortress. But the moment was cruelly short. The ground shook violently. Another wave of reapers poured in from hidden corridors, shadows swarming toward them. Elias cursed under his breath. There was no time to waste. He grabbed her hand, warm and trembling, and whispered, Hold on to me, I'll get us out of here together. She nodded, teeth biting her lip, eyes bright with trust. And in that moment, in the midst of shadows and fear, something unspoken passed between them. A promise, a bond, a love stronger than any darkness, any shadow, any reaper. Elia's fists clenched. The ship hovered, engines humming, weapons ready. He looked at her, heart burning, and said, This is the part where Earth's champion saves his queen. And nothing is going to stop me. And with that, they surged forward into the heart of the fortress, shadows screaming behind them, but light, their light, blazing brighter than anything the void had ever known. The fortress shook like it knew they were coming. Shadows swirled around them, alive, writhing, clawing at the edges of reality. Elia's heart pounded in his chest, louder than the ship's engines, louder than the Reaper's screams. Every step forward was a step deeper into chaos, deeper into the black heart of the enemy's lair. He glanced at her violet eyes burning like twin stars in the darkness. The chains that had once bound her were now broken, but her energy still flickered weakly, exhausted from resisting the fortress' dark pull. She stumbled slightly, and he caught her instantly, holding her close. "Stay with me," he whispered fiercely. "I won't let them take you again." She looked up at him, lips trembling, and for a brief moment the fear faded. All that remained was trust. I knew you would come," she breathed, voice soft and raw, "even against all of this." Elias swallowed hard, his own emotions threatening to break him. "I told you," he said, grinning despite the chaos. "Earth's champion doesn't quit, especially not for the Queen." She smiled faintly, and it made his chest ache. Even in the shadow of death, her light shone. Her hands reached for his, fingers trembling, and their touch sparked a warmth that cut through the cold, endless darkness. But there was no time for tenderness. From the shadows ahead, a pulse of energy rolled outward. The air, or what passed for air in this twisted void, vibrated with power. And then, emerging from the black, came him, the Void Commander, the creature who had orchestrated its capture. His form was monstrous, more shadow than flesh, eyes like dying suns. "Ah, the little human who dares to interfere," it hissed, voice reverberating like grinding stars. "And the Queen herself, finally in my grasp." Elias stepped protectively in front of, fists shaking but resolute. "You're not touching her, ever," he growled. The commander laughed, a sound that made the void itself seem to shiver. "You are brave, foolish, predictable. Come, let me end you." The attack came without warning. Shadows surged like waves, crashing into Elia's ship and nearly tearing it apart. He dodged, rolled, fired everything he had. Sparks flew, metal screamed, and the fortress seemed to pulse in anger at every strike. His energy flared. He could feel it, faint but undeniable, coiling around them like a shield. She had been saving herself, conserving power, waiting for the moment she could strike. Her violet eyes glowed, and with a voice that resonated like music through the void, she whispered, "Elias, together." Elias nodded, heart swelling. Together, he thought, always together. The commander lunged again, claws tearing through the air. Elias countered, ramming the ship forward, smashing through waves of black tendrils. Extended her hands, and beams of violet light shot forth, burning the shadows where they stood. The two of them moved as one, a perfect harmony of courage and power. "You are strong," the commander growled, stumbling back, "but not enough." Elia's voice rang out, fierce and trembling with raw emotion. "I don't care if the universe itself fights me. She is my queen, my life, my everything." The words were a hammer against the void. His energy flared higher, brighter, feeding off his love, his courage, their connection. Together they struck the commander with a blinding wave of light and energy. The shadow screamed, twisting, writhing, and finally exploded into nothingness, leaving a hollow silence behind. Elia's hands shook as he turned too. Her eyes were still glowing faintly, her chest rising and falling with exhausted breaths. I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered, voice raw. "You never have to," he said, wrapping her in his arms. "Not ever, I'll always be here." For a moment, the chaos of the fortress seemed to fade, leaving just the two of them in a fragile, shining bubble. Sparks from the ship drifted around them like fireflies. Tears streaked their faces, smiles trembling and genuine. And in that moment, as the void watched silently, something stronger than stars had been forged. Trust, love, and a bond that no darkness could ever break. Elias pressed his forehead to hers, voice soft. "You're my queen. I'll fight the universe itself for you. Do you understand?" She nodded, eyes glimmering with tears and pride. "I do, my champion, always." And together they prepared to leave the fortress, hearts beating as one, knowing the battle was over, but the story just beginning. The fortress trembled like it was alive, angry at their defiance. Elias and clung to each other, hearts racing, as the alien ship hovered just above the jagged floor. Shadows still lingered, twisted and snarling, but the commander had fallen, leaving a void of fear in its wake. But the fortress itself wasn't finished with them. Walls cracked, energy pulses surged, and chunks of black matter fell around the ship like falling stars of doom. Elia's hands were steady on the controls, jaw set tight. Every instinct screamed that the next few moments would decide everything. "Hold on," he said, voice low but firm. "We're not out yet." His violet eyes glimmered, weary but fierce. Her hand found his, fingers locking with his, and for a moment the chaos outside seemed distant. "Elias, I thank you," she whispered, voice trembling. "I don't think I could have survived this without you." He shook his head, heart aching at her vulnerability. "You don't have to survive alone. Ever, I'll always be here." She smiled faintly, leaning against him. Their bond, tested, strained, yet unbroken, felt like a lifeline in the darkness. The ship surged forward, engines screaming as they navigated the collapsing corridors. A massive chunk of the fortress broke free, spiraling toward them. Elias twisted the controls with desperation, barely dodging. Sparks flew, panels cracked, alarms screamed. "Guess I really am the human punching the universe, huh?" he muttered, a wry grin breaking through the tension. Chuckled softly, a sound like silver bells in the void. "Your bravado is infuriating," she whispered, "but I like it." He smirked, "Good, because you're stuck with it." The laughter was short-lived. Another wave of Reaper shadows surged from the collapsing walls, black tendrils lashing, screeching, hungry. Elias pressed the throttle, twisting, dodging, and firing with precision born of desperation. His power flowed through him, a faint violet light wrapping around the ship, shielding them from the worst of the attacks. "You're amazing," she gasped, her voice breathless. He shook his head, jaw tight. "Not amazing, just stubborn, and hopelessly in love with a queen who refuses to let me quit." Her laugh was a soft, musical sound that made his heart ache. She reached out, brushing a hand against his cheek, and in that brief touch, he felt the universe itself fold around them, fragile and infinite. Suddenly, a massive fissure opened in the fortress floor. A vortex of darkness and energy yawned wide, threatening to swallow everything. The ship shook violently. Elia's stomach dropped. He knew that one wrong move could end it all. He shouted, "Stay with me, hold on." "I'm not leaving," she cried, her voice strong despite her exhaustion. Her violet energy flared brighter than ever, wrapping around the ship, guiding it like a lighthouse through the storm. Elias pressed every lever, twisted every control, and with one final burst of quantum drive energy, they shot through the vortex. The darkness screamed around them, walls of shadow clawing at the ship, but together they pierced the void. And then silence. The void stretched before them, endless stars, galaxies, and the comforting blue of distant nebulae. They had escaped the fortress. Elias exhaled, collapsing into the pilot's seat, trembling with relief and exhaustion. Leaned against him, silver hair shimmering in the starlight, her violet eyes soft and filled with unspoken emotion. "You saved me," she whispered, voice barely audible. "I saved us," he corrected, brushing her hair from her face, letting his thumb trace the line of her cheek. "You didn't just survive, you fought, you shone. Together we did this." Her hand found his, fingers entwining with his. "Together," she echoed, voice trembling with tears, hope, and relief. Elias pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her, holding her tight. The fortress, the Reapers, the darkness, they were all behind them now. And for the first time in what felt like forever, the stars themselves seemed to sigh in peace. I don't ever want to let you go again," he whispered, voice breaking. "You won't," she said softly, resting her forehead against his. "Not while we live, not while the stars breathe." He smiled, a mix of exhaustion and joy. "Then we better get home, Queen." She laughed softly, the sound like music in the infinite dark. "And you, my champion, better never stop being ridiculous." The ship soared forward, engines humming through the silent void. Stars stretched around them like threads of hope, and Elias knew with every beat of his heart that no darkness, no shadow, no enemy could ever break them. Because together they were unstoppable, and together they were finally free. The stars stretched endlessly around them, but Earth felt closer than ever. Elias held his hand, still trembling from the battle, still radiant with the soft glow of her violet energy. The chaos of the fortress, the reapers, the darkness, they were all behind them now, and the quiet hum of the ship was almost comforting. "You really did it," whispered voice soft, almost in awe. "You saved me, saved us." Elias shook his head, smiling despite his exhaustion. "No, we did it, together. You fought just as hard as I did. I just happened to be ridiculously stubborn." She laughed softly, a sound like starlight breaking through a long night. Her fingers brushed against his cheek, tracing the lines of dirt and sweat. Ridiculous, yes, but brave, and somehow hopelessly human. He grinned, leaning closer. "Hopelessly in love, too, don't forget that part." Her violet eyes glimmered, wide and honest, and for a moment the universe itself seemed to pause. Stars twinkled like tiny witnesses as she whispered, "I love you, Elias, I always have." "I love you too," he breathed, voice thick. "More than anything, more than the stars, more than the void, more than anything I've ever known." A quiet smile spread across her face, and she leaned against him, letting herself rest after the storm. The energy around her pulsed gently, no longer wild or chaotic. She was safe, and she knew it. The ship cut through the void, heading toward the familiar blue and green glow of Earth. Elias guided them, heart lighter than it had been in months. Every planet, every star, every shadow they had survived faded behind them. Ahead lay home, and with it the promise of peace. As Earth's atmosphere wrapped around them, the ship descended toward the countryside, where the night was calm, almost impossibly serene after what they had endured. Trees swayed in a gentle breeze. Crickets chirped. The world seemed to breathe again, as if it too had been holding its breath while they fought. Elias set the ship down in a quiet clearing, engines humming softly as he shut them off. He turned to, his chest aching with emotion, eyes bright with unshed tears. "We're home," he whispered. "You're safe. I promised you, and I always keep my promises." His violet eyes shone with a mixture of joy, relief, and something deeper, trust, love, and an unspoken bond that needed no words. She stepped closer, brushing her hand against his chest. "And you always keep me safe, my champion, my heart." He wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly, feeling her warmth seep into him, filling the empty spaces left by fear and doubt. "Always," he whispered. "Forever." For a long moment they simply held each other, the night around them quiet, stars glittering overhead. No reapers, no darkness, no fear, just the two of them breathing, feeling alive. Then lifted her face to his, eyes sparkling. "You are ridiculous," she said softly, a teasing smile playing on her lips. "And stubborn and perfectly human, I think I like it." Elias laughed, a genuine happy sound that made the night feel warmer. "You're ridiculous too," he said, smiling down at her. "But I like it even more." They kissed then, softly at first, tentative, tasting relief, trust, and love all at once. And as the night wrapped around them, the stars seemed to shimmer brighter, as if celebrating the union of two souls who had faced the void and returned stronger. After a while, they pulled back slightly, foreheads resting together, breaths mingling, hearts beating in sync. Elias whispered almost against her lips, "No matter what comes, we face it together." Smiled, eyes glimmering with tears and light. "Together, always." And as they stood there, hand in hand, under the vast, endless sky of Earth, the universe seemed to bow quietly in respect. A human had risen to meet the stars, an alien queen had trusted him with her life, and together they had changed everything, not by power alone, but by courage, love, and the unbreakable strength of two hearts refusing to let darkness win. The world was vast, the universe was endless, but in each other's arms, Elias and had found something far greater than any star, a home. And for the first time in a long, terrifying journey, everything felt right. The Queen of the Star Dominion was safe, and Earth's champion had proven that even one human heart could shine brighter than the void itself. Together they walked into the quiet night, hand in hand, ready for whatever new adventures the universe would throw at them. Because nothing, not even the darkest shadows, could ever break the bond forged between a queen and her champion.